Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, James, aka Dad, and this is episode 18, where we'll be breaking down pages 233 through 306 of Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the shortest section of our rundown at just 73 pages, but it's packed with answers to a lot of lingering questions. With me today is my daughter and co-host, Miranda. What have you been up to the past week, Miranda?
Hello. What have I been up to the past week? Mostly just hanging out with friends and working, reading, watching TV. Last Tuesday, my friend Sophie, who works for Netflix, invited me and my friend Josh to go to a Michelin star restaurant because she is an administrative assistant. So they booked this restaurant for these clients and the clients canceled. So they were like, you have to pay anyway. So Sophie was like, so we're going to eat the food. So come to the restaurant.
Cool.
So that was cool. Yeah. So I had a little Michelin star restaurant. Oh, this is the second Michelin star restaurant that I've been to. Me and Sophie actually went to one in London when we were in London together for New Year's, because Netflix gave her a huge Christmas bonus. So we spent it on a fancy restaurant. But honestly, both times, not impressed. Michelin star food, fine dining, not. And also I'm vegan, so
too pretentious.
It's very pretentious, super small portions.
Right.
Some of it's good. I can't say that I had bad food. Some of the dishes that I've had are really, really good, but they're just so tiny and weird.
Yeah.
But then also with this one, we had to meet a certain minimum. So they just kept pouring us drinks and drinks. So we're having these tiny little portions of food and we're having 6, 7 drinks. We were gone by the end of the night. we were drunk and we were hungry. So we were angry. We were all fighting. It was bad.
Oh my God.
It was really silly. And then we all actually went the next day because, oh God, she works for Netflix. It's amazing because they they have the whole lunch buffet and the breakfast buffet and, they provide all that stuff for them. It's not Midtown. She's in Flatiron, right by Union Square in Manhattan. So it's just super, super nice. So some of us went and met her, because a couple of her coworkers too, to have lunch, because she just is if y'all ever want to come have lunch, I just put you as a guest and you come have free lunch. So we met to have lunch the next day and debrief about the night before. It was very silly. We were no wonder we were all angry. We were starving and we had 7 drinks each. So fine dining, Michelin star restaurants, not for me. I don't think. I don't think I'm fancy enough for that. I don't think I'm well put together enough
because the portions were too small. That's why you were hungry, and some of the stuff you couldn't eat because you're a vegan.
Well, they had me a whole vegan menu, so I could eat everything they gave me. But yeah, they're just tiny. But also, the vegan stuff, my salad I had was just some lettuce and some vinaigrette.
Right, that's not a lot of calories.
Yeah, and then my dessert was a fruit plate. So, wasn't very special, and yeah, really small. One of the dishes I had was really good, but again, tiny portion. So
right.
It was whatever. Because they all had a steak and stuff, but even their other little things that they had were so small, and that's why, right? Because you have 4, it's 4 courses.
Right.
So you're not getting these big, gigantic courses for 4 courses. And then, like I said, they just kept pouring us drinks and pouring us drinks. And we all mixed everything. It was white wine, red wine, martini, espresso martini, it was just bad.
Yeah.
Champagne. It was bad. So that was really silly, but it's fun because, it's yeah, my friend works for Netflix and she got us into a Michelin star restaurant in New York. How cool, how glamorous. So that's the story that I will tell other people. But other than that, yeah, I worked this past weekend. And then just, hanging out with friends. I did watch The Murderbot. I watched the 3, was it 3 episodes? I did watch that.
2. It was
2.
First 2.
I thought it was 3 for some reason. But yeah, I did watch those.
Yeah.
Because I forgot that I pay for Apple TV. So I was because there was another show that popped up that I was oh, I have Apple TV. I should watch this show. And I was I might as well watch Murderbot. It's silly. It's cool. It's good. He's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But it
he
also
did a good job, I think.
But it feels like it's
of
kind
the
of
awkwardness.
it feels like it's, like, gonna be kinda wholesome, like, it feels like he's gonna learn 'cause
Oh, it is, yeah.
yeah, 'cause these
It ends up being that way, even in the books.
yeah, 'cause these humans are, like, different from other humans. They,
Yes,
like,
right. The humans he's with are much more, they have a heart.
progressive,
Right.
caring,
Right. Yeah.
and
Because they're gonna treat him like he's a real human and not a bot.
right.
So, yeah.
So I
But, yeah,
didn't
the way he was so awkward, he did a really good job of portraying the awkwardness that Murderbot has,
mhm.
like, going and standing in front of the wall and just staring at the wall, because that's what he does in the book a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, like, the whole eye contact, like, "I demand you to make
Yeah.
eye contact with me." You're like that was funny.
One thing that I also liked was they were, like, putting the percentage up of his, what kind of,
Oh,
uh
like
how well he was functioning,
yeah.
things like that. Because he'll in the book, that's part of his inner monologue, but here you get an inner monologue, and then you get that on the side as a graphic, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see, like, everything that he's kind of, like, seeing and
Right.
from his
But he does that a lot in the book, like, he gets on the internet or whatever you wanna call it, this local system, and he can look through all the cameras, and he'll sit there and watch the humans through the cameras like he did in the show.
Well, and I like too that he likes to sit and watch, like, TV shows.
Yeah. And Jack McBrayer was on one of the TV show he likes.
Yes. Yes.
That was funny.
That was funny. Yeah, I liked all it seemed like there were, like, little cameos in the TV show that he was
Yeah.
watching, which I
Yeah.
thought was cool. Yeah, I did enjoy it. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I watched that as well.
Yeah, that's about it, and then I'm still reading The Stone Sky.
Okay.
I'm trudging through. I'm having
Yeah.
trouble I'm having trouble focusing in general, and because there's still, like, so much new stuff going on in it, I'm also getting a little lost. I really like when it's her daughter, and I really like when it's her too, but now that we're getting into Hoa's backstory, I'm like, "All right,
Mm.
why didn't I get this before?" And I'm a little confused. I've
Yeah.
had to read those pages, like, multiple times
Oh.
because I don't know what's going on. But I think that's also partly, like, I've been kind of distracted this past week, but I'm trudging through. But I really
Alright.
like Nassen. I really like her part of the
Yeah.
story. It's the most interesting to me right now because she's like she's being called to action. So I like that. But yeah, but that's it.
Well, I watched Murderbot also, which we already talked about, and then as far as reading goes, I'll cover that first. I still reading book 4 of The Expanse, kind of slow going on that, but I did finish the Henry Winkler's book I was listening to, his autobiography. So that's another book down. I forgot to add that to my list. But The Expanse is going a little slow for me because I've been watching too much TV. I finished off Andor. I watched the last arc of that, and that was, man, so good. So good. And then, of course, I watched Rogue One again because that's, like I said last week, that's where Andor ends. Right where it ends, it just picks right up at Rogue One, which is a movie which has Darth Vader in it a little bit. That's fine. You can't have a movie without either Jedi or Darth Vader. They're not going to make a movie without those.
Right.
So, but the TV show Andor, no Vader needed. Once again, I'll go over that. So yeah, it was really, really good. And then I started watching Severance, and Jesus Christ, season 2. I've already watched season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2, I don't know if you've watched that, but that show is confusing as fuck.
Yeah, no.
It's so confusing.
I remember I tried to watch the first season when it first came out. I don't know if I finished it or not because I also was just kind of like, this is a lot.
It is. And the second season's just as bad, if not worse. There's a lot going on. I mean, it's good, and it's definitely cool TV, and the way it's filmed is different and neat, and the whole premise is, really cool, but there's definitely a lot of it's just like so many secrets going on that you're trying to figure out, and I have to watch idiots on YouTube just to afterwards. After every episode, I got to go watch the breakdown by Screen Crush so I know what the hell was going on. So,
why are you calling them idiots if they're telling you what's going on in the show?
I'm just being facetious. They're not idiots. I like Screen Crush, actually. I'm just saying I got to go watch somebody else in order to figure out what's going on because I don't catch every little thing.
Right.
Yeah. There's so much going on in that show. It's insane. But that's about it for me.
There you go.
Went to graduation Mia's graduated high school.
How was that?
So that was good. A lot of people.
Yeah.
I think her graduating class had almost 600 people.
Yeah, mine was like that too.
So, yeah. And they have them all now at the college, at the basketball gym at MTSU. So, yeah, that's about it for me for the week.
Cool.
All right, moving on. No social media book buzz. You're welcome, Grandma. And we'll get right into Buffalo Hunter because there's a lot going on, even in this little bit of short section we read.
Oh, yeah.
So first, we'll have the recap.
All right. Yeah. So in the previous chapters, Arthur's trying to find holes in Goodstab's story. He talks to a Blackfoot Indian man named Amos Shortribs, who asks him about the full blood. He also meets Dove, a Pinkerton investigating the deaths and disappearances of a family from San Francisco, a couple of them having turned up as humps in Miles City. He also knows something about the caravan with the Catman from Goodstab's story. Goodstab recounts how he went after the buffalo hunters. Back in Miles Cities, more people are dead and missing, including the Pinkerton Dove. Arthur realizes Goodstab has been sneaking into the church. He tries and fails to turn Goodstab into the sheriff. Goodstab tells him of a boy he met who tells him what happened to his tribe and chief, Heavy Runner. He was killed, and most of the tribe was burned down and massacred. He meets Nappy, a deity of theirs, who tells him he's turning into a white man by drinking them, so he has to start drinking Pecuni people. He tries to only drink those that are already dying, including his old friend Tall Dog's mother. He runs into his father and they smoke, but it suffocates Goodstab, and his father runs him back to Nappy. Back at the church in Miles City, a woman named Frida confirms that there is a vampire or a Noxer among them.
All right. Thank you for the recap.
Anytime.
Moving on. Chapter 15, April 25th, 1912. This is still Arthur's point of view at this point. Arthur thinks Goodstab plans on killing him and calls the whole telling of his tale a counting coup, which I had to look up. I didn't know exactly what that phrase meant. It's how Indian warriors won prestige against their enemies, and he will try to convince the sheriff of the threat.
That was a pretty short chapter, right?
Yeah, it was like a page and a half or something.
So I didn't really have anything different to say about it.
You don't have much to say? No. Yeah, there's not much to say about it.
Because it was like a page. Because I also was wondering what a counting coup is, and I always wonder, and then I don't look them up, but you do, so that's good.
I try to. I don't always, but yeah. So, chapter 16, the next day, April 26th, 1912, Arthur again convinces the sheriff to try and find Goodstab's dugout. He also talks to Amos Shortribs again. Yeah. That's all I put for some reason. Was this also a short one?
It was a short chapter, yeah. The first 2 or 3 chapters were super short. Because when I was trying to divvy it up, I was like, oh, these are like really short chapters. Is that one chapter that was like the gospel part that was friggin'
that chapter's whenever we go to a new confession for Goodstab, it's always a long chapter.
Yeah. So in this chapter, Amos tells Arthur the story of the full blood, which ties back to that boy that Goodstab met earlier in the other chapters and the fire that he started. So that boy was like was training to be like a medicine man, Happy. He was going to be a medicine man, and then he comes back and
his name was Happy.
Yeah, and he tells him this like story. So then now that's how Goodstab got the name of the full blood. But then also he's like takes no scalps, but they think they're two different people because they think the full blood is like this. It seems like they think full blood is like a powerful deity who's like doing justice versus like take no scalps is the guy who's killing people senselessly, right? Because the full blood is out there like doing justice against the buffalo hunters, but then takes no scalps is eating Pecuni people because he wants to stay Pecuni, right? So I thought that's kind of cool. That's interesting how he's becoming these like different myths,
Right.
But it's all the one person.
Or is it? But we'll get to that. All right. And then also, I guess one thing in this chapter that we didn't really take notes on here, and I don't see it in the next chapter either. Arthur convinced the sheriff to go to Goodstab's dugout or to look for it. And so basically he knows he's sending the sheriff to his death.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's not good.
Right. Like and he says like, and I know that doing that might have been killing the sheriff, but oh well, which was kind of weird. Like, why did you do that then?
So, exactly.
Yeah. Because in in the next chapter we find out what happened, and I was like, yeah, duh, like what?
Right.
Arthur's an idiot. That's my take on Arthur.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong. All right. Still in Arthur's point of view, chapter 17, April 28th, 1912, a couple days after that last chapter. Goodstab comes to the church Sunday evening. Arthur thinks Goodstab is here to drink him, but they have a conversation. And in this conversation, they're kind of trading barbs at each other, which I thought was kind of funny. Two of the good quotes I liked were Lavinius Clarkson's flag. Was it only his? I thought it was a blanket for all you Americans to hide under.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Goodstab said that, which I thought was a really cool quote. And then Arthur says, any life is precious. And Goodstab laughs because obviously the white man didn't think about that about Native Americans back then or before that. There's more to it than that, but we'll get to that as well.
Yeah.
Goodstab begins telling more of his story. So the next chapter will be a Nakazera's gospel.
Right. Yeah. And then I liked how Arthur was smoking in there because he was like seeing if it would ward him off or like keep him from wanting to drink him because he had the smoke in his body. So he was like smoking so that it would keep him from being killed, I guess. But yeah, and then there was a quote that I liked too, because Goodstab, he's stolen the Jesus off the crucifix.
Right.
And he's like, when Arthur first goes in there, Goodstab is like pretending to be the Jesus on the crucifix, which was pretty crazy. That was some cool imagery. He says to Arthur, you put your reminders of pain on the wall and pray to them. We still hurt, so we don't need that reminder, which was super powerful. I was like, yeah. Just interesting. There's this show called Fleabag, and it just reminded me of a quote in there talking about how men will go and seek out pain because they don't have it within them. This specifically was talking about women versus men. So women have pain already built in us, right? We have our period and all that, all those things. Right. And men have to go out and like go to war and create pain for themselves because they don't have it built in them. And it reminded me of that. And then, yeah, and just this idea of,
Well, by the time you hit 50, men, you have some pain.
Okay. But just this idea of like...
I know what you mean. I was just making a joke.
I know. But also just like with this in particular too, like white people or white men having to, like go outside and like make up all of this stuff. I mean, sorry, that obviously shows you how I think about religion and Christianity. Make up all of this stuff to like pray for and, the pain and suffering. Right. And it's like these people don't do that or worship in that way because they're experiencing pain and suffering, and usually because of the white man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked that quote. And then Goodstab does confess to killing the sheriff. He's like, hey, thanks for sending the sheriff out to me.
Right.
Like, duh. So
yeah.
That
I really about that there.
I really liked that chapter. That was a good chapter.
Yeah.
Because you don't really get, this is when we start getting into, we're kind of getting out of that. He just shows up to have a confession. Now there's like drama. Yeah. And Goodstab's being super dramatic, which I like. Stealing the Jesus and going on the cross and, really like torturing Arthur. I love that.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a reason, but we'll get to it. All right. Moving on to chapter 18, the Nakazera's Gospel, April 28th, 1912. Goodstab is blaming something on Arthur, but doesn't come out and say exactly what it is, which is basically what I was talking about. We'll get to. So it took Goodstab 2 winters to recover from the smoke, and he spent that time with Nappy. Goodstab learns a lot of stories from Nappy.
And that's how he learned English from
Nappy.
Yeah, telling those stories. Forcing him. He was like forcing these stories on him in English so he would learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodstab finds a group of Pukini that are doing the same as the hide hunters. So this group of Pukini were killing buffalo and not actually using the meat. The only thing they weren't doing, they weren't poisoning the meat, but they weren't using it either. So I wanted to say this chapter has me confused as hell on who is who, because we got talks of the fat melters, the rabbit men, and I don't know who the heck is who. I'm guessing these are all different Indian tribes.
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wasn't really sure and why they're called that. Like, I mean, the rabbit men, I guess, because they hunt rabbit. I don't know. Or they look like rabbits. I don't know. And then the fat melters, it's not really explained why they're called fat melters. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it was just kind of confusing. So he kind of befriends what's called a night rider, which is someone who tends to the herd of horses. They herd all the horses for the tribe, and this night rider was with the fat melters. He follows him to his lodge, and he ends up killing the boy's sister, who is blind. And he kind of makes excuses for it, right? So he's thinking the sister's blind, and so she was going to be dead. She's as good as dead anyway. So he's kind of making excuses for himself to drink her blood, I think. But in the end, he is brought back to the fat melters and is looking for the boy. He ends up finding him dead with bite marks wrapped in his white buffalo's hide. So basically what happened was somebody killed his white buffalo, took the hide and wrapped this boy. The boy's name was Yellow Kidney. And he had bite marks in him like it was another vampire that did this.
Yes.
Because he says he didn't kill the boy, so there must be another vampire afoot.
Right.
All right.
That was
chapter.
Well, I was just going to say that was really sad. That made me sad that Weasel Plume had to die. I knew it was going to happen,
Weasel
but
Plume.
I was sad about it. Well, and also I like too that Weasel Plume was the name, and I didn't realize it until this coming up chapter, I think, because I think Arthur says it. But Weasel Plume was Goodstab's name first as a boy.
Right. Before he killed that soldier and became Goodstab, yeah.
Right, which I didn't get. So I thought that was good symbolism, like killing of his younger self, child self, old self dying. Also in this chapter too, didn't he runs into Happy again, right? The medicine man and the raven.
Yeah, and that's how he was brought back to the fat melters. I kind of skipped to that part because, like I said, these chapters are really long, so I'm not putting in every little detail.
Yeah, but I thought that was cool, and I didn't write it down either, but I think this chapter just had me really sucked in, so I just wasn't taking a lot of notes in general. But I just feel like the idea, because the raven is obviously like his spirit guide, Happy's spirit guide, so I just feel like the raven is also guiding Goodstab, so I'm just like, maybe that will come up again.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw it out there. Okay.
Throwing out your guesses.
Yeah, which speaking of, I also at the end of this chapter was like, I bet it's the cat man. I was like, I know what I said last time, and I agreed with the ashes, but I think he came back somehow.
All right, let's find out. Chapter 19. So we're going back to Arthur here, the absolution of 3 persons, May 1st, 1912. Arthur has done something, and he thinks Goodstab is trying to get him to confess to it. I think my opinion here is that Arthur was part of the Marias Massacre, which happened in 1870. This is actually a true story. It happened in 1870, and it was the camp of Chief Heavy Runner, where a bunch of American soldiers killed them. And I think, this is what I was thinking at the time, was that Arthur is the scout that shot Heavy Runner when Heavy Runner was presenting his papers. So I guess Heavy Runner had some papers that said, he was good at whatever the hell he was doing, kind of like Ron Swanson, here's my papers. It just says you can do whatever you want. So when he was trying to present his papers, the scout shot him, and then they ended up massacring all these Indians. And it's a true story. Yeah. I looked it up.
Which is cool. I didn't think to look it up. Yeah. But now that you're saying it, I feel like I probably watched a TikTok about this or something, because I feel like I remember learning about that at some point. Definitely not in school. Yes. Right. But I also was thinking too, I was like, Arthur was involved somehow. That's when I was like, Arthur did he's involved. He's involved somehow.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see. Chapter 20, May 12th, 1912. This is like 11 days later. Arthur runs away out into the wilderness thinking he was just going to die maybe or whatever. He was just going to go live off the land until he died. Goodstab finds him and brings him back to the church. Arthur awakes tied to the cross like Jesus, which I thought was really good. Mm-hmm. Goodstab has brought the bodies of Sheriff Doyle and Lavinius. Neither are drained or skinned. And he also has the bodies of the 4 guys from the lodging houses. I think it's like California Jim, and I can't remember all their names. One of them was Early Tate, I think, the guy who took the bowler hat from him. Mm-hmm. And then Also, he has there the 4 members of the San Francisco family, the Flowers.
Mhm.
And then we find out the Catman didn't die, and he is the second vampire.
Well,
so you were right.
Well, to go back
ahead.
to, he also had those dogs there.
Oh, yeah, the dogs
Because then
were
Arthur
there.
was like, and that's what really made it. He, equating these men to these dogs.
Right.
Which I was like, big old hypocrite. Okay. Okay. I love this, though. I love this whole chapter, too. So dramatic. I love the drama.
Yeah, this chapter was really good.
Love
and then
the drama. The burning
Arthur,
of the church. All the dead people. Ugh, loved it.
Right, because that's another thing. After they massacred those Indians in 1870 at the Marias Massacre, they burned the bodies.
Them. Yeah, so he was
and what happens is, the body of Lavinius catches on fire because I don't remember exactly why. Goodstab did something with the candle and it kind of caught the flag on fire or something. So Arthur can smell the the burning body there in the church, and he said something.
Oh yeah,
about he knows how that smells.
Yeah, nasty.
Which was another hint.
And then also when he was like, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of making me hungry. Do you remember that? Oh,
that's disgusting.
My God, I was like, why would you even write that in your journal? Like, that could have been a thought you didn't even need to write down. What? Oh my God, nasty. This gluttonous, gross guy. But definitely was reminded, bringing him back to that scene.
Right. And then finally, Arthur does confess that he was a part of it. He wasn't the scout, which is what I thought. He was the one that fired the shot, but he was the commander who gave the scout the order to shoot. And then we also find out that the Flowers family are Arthur's son and grandsons.
Yep.
Which I thought was crazy.
I feel like
apparently he slept with a whore.
Yeah, with a prostitute.
After that. Yeah, with a prostitute after that. And I guess got her pregnant. And that was the father of the family.
Yeah.
And then he had sons, which were the other 3.
Right.
Yeah,
because he was so traumatized by the massacre that he had a part in. They had to go fuck it out, I guess. Men. God. Yeah. But yes, going back also to, yes, I was right. The Catman didn't die because he says something about it. But we are interested to find out why he didn't die because, yes, like they do talk about his ashes, in the thing. So, we were talking about this before, like some theories we have. I was kind of like, I don't know if he's trying to make it like he rose out of the ashes, or maybe those weren't actually his ashes.
Or just mistaken, I guess. I don't know.
So I'm curious. I'm sure we will hopefully find out in the next chapters, because hopefully there's not that big of a plot hole. Surely there's not.
Yeah. So, and now I'm beginning to think, did Goodstab turn Arthur into a vampire? Because he says something, what did he say? He said, you are ready to eat mice, and that Arthur will walk alone in this world. So my questions is, did he turn Arthur into a vampire? Because remember, Arthur didn't wake up. So when Goodstab found him out in the wilderness, he brought him back to the church, and Arthur didn't wake up for 2 days, and he woke up on the cross. So did he turn him into a vampire then?
Well, I don't think so, because he was smelling the burning flesh and he was like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, true. But I think he will.
But I also think he will too.
Yeah, I think he will turn him into a vampire.
And then subsequently.
And then my theory,
well, was my theory first.
Okay, you're right, it was.
The prairie dog.
So, so it isn't my theory. It's your theory. And then I said, maybe the cat or the prairie dog from the beginning of the story with Etsy, it might be Arthur. And it could be Goodstab too, still one of them. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Where we ended.
You'll have to find out next time.
That was the last chapter for this section. So next week will be the grand finale of Buffalo Hunter x Hunter.
I'm excited about it. I hope it gets even more dramatic, because these chapters here were the drama was incredible.
Yeah, this section so far has been my favorite of the 3 we've read. Definitely.
Got really exciting.
Yep.
All right. And that's a wrap on our discussion of pages 233 to 306 of Buffalo Hunter x Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. If you're feeling a little unhinged after this section, same. But hang in there, because next week is the finale. We'll be covering pages 307 to 424 and wrapping up this wild ride. We want to know what you think. Were you as freaked out, fascinated, or just straight up confused as we were? Let us know. You can find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and our Discord. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening and happy reading.
Our intro music is Upbeat Funk, performed by Mikhail Smusev, and our outro music is Lo-Fi Chill, medium version, performed by Bodan Kuzmin. You can find both tracks on pixabay.com. Thanks for joining us, family, and we'll see you next week.